Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, yay! Thank you for joining us this early in the morning.
Yeah, I'm wide awake. I'm
Nice.
wi- I'm wide I'm wide awake and fully dressed, and my hair is combed.
I
Well,
feel like this is sarcasm.
I was gonna say that makes one of us because I rolled out of bed like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's why I texted you. This is audio. When I realized it was audio only, I was like, "Oh yeah, I got this."
All right, Jeannie, this is Dustin, my good friend. Dustin, this is Jeannie, my good friend and colleague.
Nice
Hello,
to meet you.
Dustin. Nice to meet you.
I mean,
And
not face to face or anything, but
Right.
welcome to our podcast, What M Dreams.
Thank you. It's my
We're
first
happy to have
podcast.
you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
This is your first podcast?
Yeah, and I think I've only listened to one podcast in my life besides
really.
yours,
Okay.
and it was for school. We used it to teach. So yeah, I
Ah,
told you. I told you, Dustin. I told you I'm old.
I mean, I'm pretty old. So, are we gonna have an old off right now?
Oh, I will kill you in the old off.
I don't know. I'm getting up there.
Okay, all right. I'll let you have it then.
I got some 8 tracks and some vinyl.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now vinyl's not old; it's classic, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
vintage.
Yeah,
We're
vintage.
bringing
Yeah,
it back now too. So
I love it.
yeah.
I did something today that I haven't done for about 20 years, which is set an alarm.
Oh wow.
oh,
I hate alarms. I hate being woken up by an alarm, and I just wake up. But I was scared I was going to miss this time. If I wake up 15 minutes for work, it's okay. I can just hurry up and get up there. But
right.
I didn't want to be late for this.
So you
So
have
I
a good
used my
internal clock then.
yeah. Yeah, I guess so. So it was the first time using my phone to set an alarm. So I practiced it yesterday to make sure it worked. And it did.
Thank you for all that.
Anytime. Anything for you, Natasha.
Oh, stop it.
I don't set an alarm anymore, but that's because time doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
That's awesome. Are you being serious?
I'm being very serious.
I love that. I can't wait to get there. And as soon as school's over, when I go on vacation, I just go to Wimberley, Texas. I don't know if y'all ever heard of it. It's in the hill country. I
Yeah, I
try
remember you
I
talking about that.
Yeah, I don't like to look at I turn my phone off and I don't like to look at it. I try not to look at it for like 24 hours so I can forget what time it is. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to, I don't want to be on that schedule. I want to eat when I want to. I just, after being a teacher and the bells guide your life, I just want to live
Yeah, man.
I
deliberately.
feel that.
So that's cool.
All right, Tasha, do you want to do our intro?
Sure. Welcome to What M Dreams. I'm one of your hosts, Tasha, and I'm here with
Dustin.
and our special guest.
Jeannie.
Yay! And we're here to talk to you about dreams.
All right.
I was thinking of jumping a little bit into nightmares because I just had one. And I texted Dustin about it the other night. I woke up. It woke at the witching hour, 3:30 in the morning, and oh
Mm.
man, when I realized what time it was, I was like, I gotta record this. So I recorded it down in my voice app, which I can't open unfortunately on my phone while recording. In my dream, it had scared me so bad that I screamed in my dream and I woke up almost screaming. It was a groan. And I woke up. So it was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
So what I remember of the dream was it was me and Ernesto and a bunch of other people. I think they were colleagues and students. And we're all sitting down having dinner at a long table in a building that was kind of like a game store room.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Okay, so we were all sitting down trying to enjoy our dinner. I heard somebody say, "He's choking. Oh my God, he's choking." And so I turned and my husband was choking. And I was like, oh crap. So I started running and I was running for someone who could possibly help and do. In my dream, I was looking for someone who could do CPR, but I know in the waking world, he needed a Heimlich maneuver. So I don't know what
Mm.
that was about. So I was running to try and find someone who could help him out, and nobody could. And then I knew that outside of the building, there were EMTs for some reason who could help. So I got all the way
Mhm.
to the front door and I was about to, open up the door, run outside and ask for help from the EMTs. And I could not open the door. So I was
Mm.
banging on the door, screaming. And that's when I woke up.
Oh my
Interesting.
gosh.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah,
it was wild.
this is not the first time you've dreamt about Ernesto dying.
No. Or, on his way to dying. But yeah, this is not the first time
Mhm.
I woke up screaming, thinking that he was
Yeah.
dead or dying. Yeah. I don't know what that's about.
Well, it sounds like emotionally you're pretty dependent on him.
I guess.
Well, don't say it like that. He is your husband.
Yeah.
I guess. No, I am, I guess. I really am, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's what scares me.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Wow.
What about you? Any nightmares?
Yeah. I mean, I can really feel that one, Tasha. And Dustin, right now I'm going through a divorce.
Oh,
And I'm putting that in quotes because it's early and I don't know what will ever happen, okay? So if you see me in 2 years and I'm with my husband, don't trip, okay? But but talking about that emotional dependence. My nightmares right now, and I don't call these nightmares. Well, nightmares to me have some killing and I'm running from some witches or something, but I mean, they really are nightmares right now because I'm separated from him. That's my person. And
yeah.
we've been together for 25 years. So my nightmares right now are, me either trying to talk to him or whatever the case is, and I wake up, or even it might not be a nightmare. It might be something good in the dream, but then you wake up and you're back to real life.
Right.
So like a waking nightmare, really, where like now you've realized the thing that's happening in your dream is not what's happening in real life, and so now you're coming back to reality. Yeah.
It's like a nightmarish Groundhog Day
Yeah.
every day. But
Yeah.
it's because I am, and I'm just kind of realizing that a lot right now. I am extremely emotional dependent on him. When something's on fire at school, when something's going wrong at school, and I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown, I usually just get him on the phone, and he's like, F those people or whatever.
Yeah,
And
he's the one that can calm you down.
yeah, I say he makes a molehill out of a mountain. I don't know if y'all
Okay.
ever heard that saying, make a
Mm-hmm.
mountain
Yeah.
out of a molehill. He makes a molehill out of a mountain. And so I don't want to call him. So I'm like freaking out. But okay, so that's kind of my nightmare, my emotionally dependent nightmare I'm going through right now. But my regular nightmares are, I told Tasha the other day, checking out of an Airbnb with a group. And it's because I'm controlling. And I mean, that's one thing I do know about myself. But hey, it works for me. And so when you do it with a group, you can't control what everybody else does. And I actually lived that nightmare this summer with my family, my kids. My kids are grown, and one of their
Yeah.
girlfriends were there, and my sister was there, and my 4-year-old nephew was there, and we had to all check out of the Airbnb at 11 o'clock. And I check out of Airbnbs at 5 o'clock. Cause why?
Oh,
I'm old and I want to get on the
yeah.
road and get home. But young
Mm-hmm.
people, like my kids, they want to stay till checkout time. So
Yeah.
then it's checkout time, and I'm trying to make sure the house is perfect when we leave. Okay, one more nightmare, and then I'll let somebody else talk.
No, go ahead.
My real nightmares that I don't have anymore because I don't watch scary movies anymore are like, oh, I can remember this just clear as day. Like I'm 5 years old, you guys. There's my closet with a two bars in it, one up top and one in the middle. And I would
Hmm.
throw my coat over that second bar. And I will wake up and I think that was a witch. Now, I like witches. I don't have no problem with witches now as an adult. But as a kid, that was my nightmare. And look, I'm still
Really?
remembering it 45 years later.
Yeah.
Whoa.
My dad had he did this CB radio, talking about vintage. He did this CB radio. His what do you call it? His handle was Cougar. Two big cougar statues. And my dreams, these things were alive. So like those are my nightmares, but those were brought on by watching scary movies. The last scary movie I ever watched was Friday the 13th Part 3. And that was straight in the 80s. And I don't watch scary movies anymore. If I think that movie's gonna be scary, I'm out of there.
That's how my mom is.
Your dad sounds awesome, by the way. Anybody who could call themselves Cougar on a CB radio.
Well, back then it did not mean
right there.
Back then it did not mean middle-aged woman who liked younger men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would hope not. Otherwise, your dad had some weirdness going on.
No, that's so funny. He actually had a car that was called a Cougar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it had like a unique paint job, so the story goes. And he was a player. Now, he was a white dude, okay? This is my stepdad.
Mhm.
He was in the military. He was a player. He had all these leisure suits, had a pool table in the living room. When my mom met him, like, he was a 1970s player.
Okay.
But he settled down.
Man.
So it kind of got
like I said, he sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he was funny. He was funny. He left us one quote from him that I'll never forget. He was literally sorry to take it here, but whatever. He was on his deathbed, and my big son was standing over, looking over him, and he told my son, "Laughing makes life better." On his deathbed, y'all. So that's where I get my funny from. That's where I get my funny from.
It's absolutely true.
That is a good quote to leave the world with.
Isn't it? So my nightmares are mainly loss of control.
You want to talk about an actual living nightmare? Don't let Tasha book you into anything, ever. That's an actual living nightmare.
Why is that, Dustin?
Do tell.
So, all right. First off, our friend group was going to go to an Airbnb in San Antonio. Was this like 2018, 2019, something like that?
Yeah.
The morning we were supposed to leave, we showed up at her house, and she's like, "Guys, I have bad news. I never confirmed the reservation." So we lost that Airbnb.
Oh.
And so we're like scrambling trying to find another one. It worked out in the end, but
okay, good.
This is also not the first time that's happened. So we were going to the movies. It was actually just me and her and her husband. I forgot what movie we were going to see. It doesn't really matter. We were going to go to the Alamo Draft House in downtown.
Okay.
She's paid for the tickets. We get there, and her husband is trying to scan the phone and be like, "Well, our tickets are supposed to be here." He hands the phone to the guy, and then the guy who's there is like, "This isn't even for Alamo Draft House."
Oh.
Like not the right location, not even the same theater type.
Oh.
And that's happened more than once.
No,
just that.
What is that about?
Bad. That was bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was at that point that we told her she's not allowed to do it anymore.
Yeah, I've been banned.
So me, when I'm going to travel, I'm the person that has the itinerary, literal, printed out, scheduled itinerary for every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember I said control?
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
So we're about to go to, me and my kids are going to go to New Orleans this summer. And my daughter-in-law was like, I was telling her what we were doing every day. And she was like, "Is there any free time?" And I was like, "Yeah, there is free time scheduled on the last day." She said, "You're lying." I said, "Pulled up the itinerary and showed her free time, 1 to 7." I'm dead. So I don't know how you don't double check your reservations.
Girl, I'm a mess sometimes.
Me too. Me
Sometimes.
too.
Sometimes.
Okay, real quick, how do
So,
you two know each other?
Oh, funny
oh, it's
story.
a really weird story. Go ahead. You want to tell it?
Sure. We had a friend named Rad. He was married to another friend of ours, Irene. I think, Dustin, were you working at Blockbuster when Rad met you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So one night,
Blockbuster.
yep,
Okay,
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Dustin, point for you.
Well, one night we were about to play D&D with Rad and Irene, and me and my husband were there. And he was like, we should call this one guy. We should call Dustin. Try and come and play with us. And I was like,
Mhm.
everybody was like, okay, how do you know this guy? Because we had been going to their house every weekend for a game
Okay.
night. And he was just going to all of a sudden bring in this stranger who's going to murder us all. So just this random hobo from Blockbuster. So
Hey, you don't have to tell everybody that I'm a hobo, okay?
Not a
no,
hobo.
not a hobo. But we had no idea who he was. So, anyways, we're like, I mean, I guess so. It's your house, man. I mean, you called shots. He called Dustin. He's like, hey, you want to come join us for D&D? And we could tell that there was some pushback on the other end of the line.
Mm,
This man did not want to play, but he would come hang out.
okay.
So, yeah, he showed up, and we proceeded to play D&D, even though he did not want to. And then he kind of liked it. So that was the story of how we met Dustin. He was
Okay.
a random guy from Blockbuster that Rad had met and made acquaintances with and
My
befriended.
exact my exact words to Rad when he asked was no, because I'm not a fucking nerd.
You are hilarious.
Turns out I am a fucking nerd.
Turns
though, so.
out, turns out you are. That's funny. Okay.
But going back to nightmares, so I've talked about this before, but I had a nightmare. I'd say it was probably 7 or 8 years ago now that actually made me go back to church.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this, but you didn't tell me what it was about.
Yeah, so here it is. It's also the only dream that I've ever had where somebody was speaking another language. I was in. It felt like South America. We'll say that because I don't know exactly, but I was in like an open air market. There was people shouting and like it was just a normal day, but all of a sudden like it started to rumble around me. I could hear this growling, and then from behind me, around my sides, I saw these two hands come out of this wall, and they had like really long, spindly fingers, right? And they were
Oh
kind of
no.
pointed. The voice started chanting, "No Cristo, no Cristo," which Cristo is Christ. It started reaching, and it reached past me, and it picked up this little girl. I remember grabbing the little girl and pulling her away from it. And then when I went to go give her back to her mom, I turned back to the wall, and I see the hands start to kind of retreat back into the wall. And then everything got really quiet. And I turned back around, and everybody was ash. Like they were statues that were like ash. And then as I stood there, everything just kind of blew away. And that's when I woke up.
Oh man.
I got chills all over my body.
Yeah, that morning I was like, well, I guess I'm going back to church.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Now it's been a few years since I've been back to church though, so I'm expecting
Wow.
another one of those dreams soon.
I'm gonna be processing that dream all day.
Well, I
Because
hope not.
that's no, I am, because you save somebody. You save some child. I mean, like there's probably so many levels to that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and we've talked about this on the podcast before where we have like a level of premonition-ish
Mm,
dreams. So I
yes.
wonder, I wonder what maybe the little girl or who the little girl might symbolize or represent.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know, because I've always said that, like, I don't want kids, like that's my thing. So it's definitely whoever it is not my kid.
Right.
Mhm.
But you've got women in your life, young women. You got your nieces.
Yeah, that's true. I do have my nieces.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. You've given
But
your
like I
nieces
said,
advice here and there.
oh yeah,
And you
a lot
mentioned
of
the other
times.
day something about your going through some kind of struggle and her not following your suggestions.
Right, yeah. She completely ignored my advice.
Yeah.
But
And I find myself like as an educated in quotes person questioning. Don't get it. Everybody don't freak out when I say this, okay? I was raised in a church. I believe in God, but I question the story of Jesus all the time. But when
Mm-hmm.
you said no Christ, that takes me right back to Jesus is my Lord and Savior. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
or
Yeah.
if I think there's a demon in my presence, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
calling the
yeah,
name of Jesus Christ because I know that like wards demons away.
right.
We're in, I'm going to probably say New Orleans 500 times because that's all my son says I talk about. But we were in New Orleans and we were taking this haunted tour, and there's this lady's house called Madame La Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah,
she was like, of course, a rich slave owner. She, like the story goes, that she performed experiments. She had multiple husbands, I think, that died mysteriously. And she did experiments on slaves. I was like taking their limbs off and putting them on different ways and all kinds of crap. She
Man.
chained a couple slaves to a stove, and this house caught on fire. And when I think in the 60s, when they were like renovating this house, they found some, I don't know if I'm remembering the story exactly, but like they found like claw marks on this underground like trap door type thing where slaves had gotten caught down there and were trying to get up out of there. So
Man.
they're telling us a story where girls, ladies, gentlemen, I feel nothing but the freaking devil. So out there
yeah.
on the street, like 9 o'clock at night in New Orleans, while everybody's having fun, I'm like, Jesus, please, Jesus, please, Jesus, please, Jesus, please.
Mm-hmm.
So that just gives me, oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
especially in a place like New Orleans, it's got a very dark history.
Yes. Yes. And all
Yeah.
kinds of, spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
Oh
cultures,
yeah.
all kinds of things. So I don't know. So
Yeah.
when that thing in your dream was saying no Cristo, oh, I'm taking that real deep. That's why I'm saying I'm gonna be thinking about that dream for a long time.
Yeah. That I
Oh
mean
my word.
that that bit was what really like pushed me,
Mm.
because I wear a medallion around my neck. Tasha's seen it before. On the front side, it's Jesus, and on the back side, it's Our Lady of Guadalupe. And in the dream, I do know that I was wearing that medallion, which I don't know. I kind of felt like maybe that had something to do with it, you know, why like it was near me. So it's yeah, it's hard to process.
Wow.
What is Our Lady of Guadalupe known for?
You got me.
Okay. I was just wondering if you I was I was asking because I thought you were saying she might have been like a target.
No, I'm Catholic, but I'm not a good Catholic.
I, I'm gonna see if I can Google it while we're on the phone, but I also think I took it as more of like protection.
Mm-hmm.
Or like
Yeah,
that thing, and I just want to call it that thing because I don't want to, I don't know what it was or who, but it didn't get you.
Yeah.
right.
So it
Yeah, it
like
went around me.
warded off the
Yeah,
evil, just like I said, the name of Jesus wards off
Yeah.
yeah,
demons. I'm about to Google, and the only reason I question that story of Jesus, and even Mother Teresa questioned her faith. So it's a natural part of growing of living, but
yeah.
it's because
Absolutely.
in cultures, the story of a man crucified and saving whatever mankind, it is found in cultures way back, multiple cultures. This story of
Yeah.
crucifixion exists and a savior of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason. I'm like, how do you know? How do you know that existed? And that comes
Yeah.
from us wanting sources, us wanting proof. Now, my
Mm-hmm.
husband did tell me, not that he's the biggest, churchgoer or anything, but when I asked him, he said, because of the miracles and signs he performed while he was here. I was like, okay. Man, a few words, okay. Well, Lady of Guadalupe. See, when you said that, I was thinking of like that Mary statue, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, the picture of her, I knew. I used to carry that around on my notebook. Y'all continue, and I'm gonna read a little bit about her and let you know if I see anything.
Okay.
Okay.
So going back to kind of premonition-ish stuff, Tasha,
Yeah.
there was this one nightmare that I had where I was in the middle of the woods and I had come across this tunnel. It looked like kind of like a drainage tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked in. It was all built out of concrete, and I walked in, and I got to a point where I had to duck under part of this other concrete wall that came down. And when I did, there was light coming down from the top of it, and like it was just a small beam of light. And I stood there, and as I stood there, these like shadow figures started coming up out of the floor, and that was kind of when I woke up. But a few nights later, I was watching one of those ghost hunter shows,
Yeah.
and they were talking about this place in like Kansas, and they showed this tunnel that looked exactly like the one in my dream.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's pretty neat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did they find
I'm all,
anything there?
They were saying it was like a portal to hell, which, they didn't actually find anything there, but seems like a fun place.
Right.
your connection across the dimensions, we'll say. I don't even know what to call it. Spiritual world,
Yeah.
physical world. Those things are strong, bro. Now, I'm probably going to do it tonight now that we're talking about it, but I don't ever dream about like that kind of stuff. What's causing you to dream about that stuff?
That could have been because I watched a lot of ghost shows at that time.
Oh, okay.
I've also had a lot of zombie dreams, but I was also watching a lot of Walking Dead then. So,
See? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Them scary movies, I tell you.
but see, I wasn't scared. That's the thing. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I always wake up and I'm like, well, that was really interesting. I wonder how that ended.
Like a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like a movie. Okay, the Lady of Guadalupe is both a symbol of conquest and liberation. So conquering and freedom.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, just right off the bat, I mean, somebody told me you're not supposed to interpret other people's dreams, so I'm not trying to do that.
No,
but
please do. Please do.
I mean, like you're conquering that bad thing, whatever it was symbol for, but you also freed that little girl.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said liberating, that's what I was thinking about was that little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Talking about your symbol, I used to wear a rune symbol etched in, I don't know if it's really stone, but my mom got it for me when I was young. Or maybe she owned it and then she gave it to me and then she got one of her own. But the rune symbol meant protection and she always wanted me to wear it. And I carried that belief. So I believe symbols used to protect.
Definitely.
So I believe in your medallion.
Honestly, I also think that belief can be strong enough to actually give things power in some instances. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, if you think that this thing is powerful enough, will actually be powerful. It's kind of like that, the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I agree. That resonates with me because I've always said, like, whenever Ernesto or you guys would talk to me about going ghost hunting or whatever, or just talking to Ernesto about it, I would think, what are you afraid of? Like, if you don't believe in the bad spirits, which I choose not to some degree, and I
Mhm.
believe it doesn't give bad spirits power. That kind of, it's kind of circular, but it makes sense in my brain. It made sense before I spoke it out loud.
Well, I know Ernesto does not like the ghosty things.
Oh yeah, if you even mention, what are those games called with the that
The
lead to
Ouija
your,
boards.
yeah. If you even
Mm,
mention that around him, he's like, nope, nope, not in my house.
yeah, I know a lot of people are like that.
Mm-hmm. And about premonitionists, I was just thinking, I had remembered that there are certain places that feel maybe not demonish to me, but definitely bad energy. I don't remember the places, but sometimes I just get that feeling and I'm like, we got to go, we got to leave. So, yeah, that's happened before where might be driving around a neighborhood that we're unfamiliar with, or we're in a parking lot in a store in an unknown place. And I'm like, I get the feeling like we've got to go, like right now. And usually we do.
Do you ever like have anything happen there that like you see later?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. And I never looked back.
Well, I just thought maybe like you'd be on the news being like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, there was this shooting at this, neighborhood Walmart." And you
No, nothing that.
told you.
No, nothing ever that extreme. But now I'm curious. If I ever get that feeling again, I will look into news about it in the days after.
You should.
I get that way pretty
Wow.
often with my kids in the car.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just me being paranoid. I don't know. I always feel like there's something.
Possibly a little bit of you being paranoid,
Yeah,
overprotective.
maybe.
Even if nothing tragic happened in those situations, after the fact, after you left, Tasha,
Mm-hmm.
when you feel that bad energy, you're probably just sensitive, like as in something's not right there. Or
Yeah.
what if there are I'm putting these in quotes because I don't know what to call it, but like demons or bad spirits, or like there can be people
Mm-hmm.
walking that have that demon inside them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We
I
kind of
think
talked
that
about
is,
this. Yeah. In a previous podcast, we were mentioning, or I mentioned that sometimes I get that feeling around a person,
yep.
but it's not often.
I never get feelings.
Mm.
It's interesting that it comes up in your dreams.
Yeah.
Your premonition type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my oldest, we call ourselves Wonder Twins. He's 30. He's 31. He'll be 31 tomorrow. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
happy birthday
and
to him.
tomorrow. What'd you say?
Happy birthday to him.
Yeah, shout out Jordan, JDZ. Okay, so that's my twin. If ever something, if I dream about him, and I don't usually dream. I told Tasha I don't usually dream about my kids. I said that to her like last week, and then I had a dream about my kids, but I don't usually dream about my kids. So when I do, I'm picking up the phone as soon as my eyeballs wake open. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "It's funny that you call me." So that happens quite often.
Mm.
Or even if I just think about him in a weird way, like I'm calling him. At one point in time, right when he graduated from high school, he went to stay with my sister in Oklahoma. And I had a medical scare, we'll just say that,
Mm-hmm.
or a medical event. And that boy called me the next day without even knowing what I was going through. And he was like, "Mom, are you okay?" So yeah, that connection is real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's stuff like that that science can't explain.
Mm,
Where like I usually tend to be a pretty big believer in scientific things, I
yeah.
tend to actually think I err more on the side of science than spiritual things usually. But things like that where it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mentioned this before too. My mom has connections with her in her dreams. Bad feelings, like if she had a bad dream, about one of her brothers. She would call them, and she's caught them on some pretty big events.
Mm.
For example, my Uncle Tony, who has passed since, she, I want to say it was before he was diagnosed with cancer that she had a bad dream about him. It was either before or if it was after, then something big happened after he was diagnosed because she called him up and then really bad news medically was told to her. She said the same things happened for one of her other brothers, at least one more, and she's got 5 brothers. And I believe my grandpa, her father.
Whoa. So if your mom has that kind of connection or that kind
Mm-hmm.
of, I don't even know what you call it. I don't know the right word to call it. It's probably like passed down to you.
I think so.
Yeah.
We call it
Which I think
premonition-ish.
is a blessing. I think it's a blessing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We take our dreams pretty seriously, my mom. So one time we both had a dream about passing over water and getting into a wreck and, going into water. We both had a dream almost maybe, if not the same night, in similar, like maybe a night or two off from each other. And so we were like, yeah, we need to avoid driving over water for a while. So we did not drive over water for a while.
Well, something I thought of when you asked me about this podcast was a couple of things that happen in my dreams where I'm lost control are I'm in my favorite city, okay, and I know what it's set up like in real life, but in my dream, I don't know where I'm going. So it takes me all day to get, down the street 2 blocks or whatever. Like I literally can't navigate the streets. And it's a walking city. It's 12 blocks. The French Quarter is 12 blocks. So it's a grid basically. So you really can't get lost. But in my dream, I'm lost. And along those same lines, I don't know if you notice this or if it happens to you. I can't use my cell phone or tell time in the dream.
Right, I cannot either.
In any dream. Like anytime I'm trying to, and it goes along with this being lost on the grid. If I want to use my cell phone to pull up the maps, like I'm trying for hours in quotes in the dream, and I can't use technology. I'm always late. It happens with school, like in my dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm trying to get ready and I'm trying to get there on time, but it's like I'm leaving the house at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I don't know what time it is. Now, I don't know if that's that loss of control or whatever, but that's big to me.
I've had similar dreams like that about school where I am trying to get there and I show up late. And I have one of the big things that recur in my teaching nightmares or teaching dreams. Not always nightmares.
No, teaching nightmares are the daily grind.
Right? In my dreams, I show up at school and I have no plan. So that's one of my fears is having no plan, so not knowing what to do with these kids all day.
Yeah.
So I panic in my dream a lot.
I can relate to that.
That's when you show a movie.
Why didn't I think of that, Dustin?
I don't know. I guess I should be the teacher.
Yeah.
I have had another recurring nightmare. It's not the same dream every time, but it's the same setting, and it feels like a continuation, But I'm in the house that I'm currently living in, and there are certain rooms that we've just decided we don't go into. And the reason we don't is because we can see something living in the walls. It's not like, a person or anything like that. It's just the whole house is basically alive. And there's holes in the walls where you can see. And it looks like meat, sort of. But it looks like it's breathing and like undulating underneath the wall. And so, like, it's very apparent in those rooms, and so we just don't go in those rooms. In the dream. Yeah.
That's
I
wild.
don't know what that one stems from, but that one was pretty cool.
You and your horror dreams are so cool.
Yeah. Like I would be terrified.
Yeah,
I'd
man,
be
me
like
too.
Nightmare on Elm Street where you don't go to sleep.
Yeah. See, I
So
love those
yeah.
movies though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. See, all my scary movie references are from back then.
Yeah.
See, I don't find Nightmare on Elm Street scary though.
Well, and also like how old was I when I was watching it? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
true.
so what's scary to young folks is not as scary to us now, I guess. Now maybe I should watch it again. Me and my sister and my other sister, we just watched I don't know if y'all remember this movie called House Party with
Oh
Kid
yeah.
and Play.
Yeah. Yeah.
My sister had never seen it, so we made a movie night the other night. So maybe Nightmare on Elm Street can be one of our movies. I'll let y'all
Does
know
it
how
still
that
hold
goes.
up? Because it was a funny movie back in the day.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, it might be.
Well, no, I was asking, does House
Oh,
Party
House
hold up?
Party? Oh
Yes.
my goodness. That was the best night. I haven't watched a whole movie in I don't know how long because I fall asleep. Whatever movie it
Oh
is,
yeah.
I'm gonna fall asleep. But I stayed up and watched House Party 1 and 2. So yeah, it
Oh
was great.
nice.
It was like boom boxes and phones plugged into the wall and uh dang what there was like so many people have passed away that are in those movies.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? That movie was made 32 years ago.
Really?
32 years ago.
Wow.
Man.
So it was very, very fun to watch that. And yes, it still holds up. The music still holds up. Yes.
I mean, the only thing that probably doesn't hold up is the outfits, right? Because the the
Yep,
really baggy pants, and yeah,
you're right. The
I don't think the
hair.
hair. Yeah.
Yeah, it was and no females had wigs or weaves or everybody was natural.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Wasn't Tisha Campbell in one of those?
Yeah, all of them.
Oh, she was in all of them. Okay.
All of them. Like as it went on, like her appearances got smaller and smaller, and Kid ended up marrying somebody else. But yeah,
Yeah.
she was in them. Martin wasn't in the third one, and then there was Martin was Bilal, the one whose breath stink.
Oh,
And then there's a fourth one they just recently made, so I guess we'll have to put that on our list to watch next time.
I had such a crush on her when I was younger.
Yeah, she was a cutie pie.
Yeah.
She was a cutie pie. They said words in there that we don't say anymore. In like the
Yeah.
first one that was made in 1990, it was just twice. They said the F word, not the fun F word that we like to say, but the other F word that we do not say because it's disrespectful. They said that one
Yes.
time. And then the R word, they said one time. That was in the 1991. But as it went on, I think in the third one, like a gay couple came out of a room. So like you could
Oh
see
yeah.
the evolution of what was politically correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this fourth one will be interesting. But speaking of bad breath Bilal. Y'all, Tasha, you mentioned about, I can't remember if you said you think you've been around people who may be evil or not.
Mm-hmm.
And Dustin, you said you don't usually meet people like that. And I don't either usually, but I met this one dude, and it's not because of this. There was a lot of reasons, but his breath smelled like the pit of hell.
Oh
And I'm
no.
not one
Bitch.
of those people that's judging people on their smell. And I wear my mask at school still.
Mm-hmm.
It was coming through my mask, yo.
Oh
And he
man.
was so mean, so mean. I'm like, that's got to be a demon.
Yeah.
And I hate
Yeah.
that I
Rotten him
felt
from the
that way.
inside out.
I hate that I felt that way. But the lady he was into it with was almost like an angel. So I swear, you guys, it was like the battle of good and evil right in front of my face.
Wow.
So when I am around something like that, I got to go. Either
Yeah.
got to
I don't blame
go
you.
or, yeah, either got to go or got to start praying right then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like praying for that protection. Okay. That, like your medallion wards off and your rune
Mhm.
wards off evil spirits. What I wear is this beaded necklace, and there are African gods called orishas, and maybe even in the Catholic faith, I think maybe, or some branch of the Catholic faith, I think they worship them as well. But mine is called Oya, Oya, and you'll have to check her out. But so my beads that I wear underneath my clothes, like you can't see them unless my shirt just happens to hang. But it's for the same way. It's for protection. I don't know if it's real, or like you said, Tasha, if you believe it, or I think you said it, Dustin, if you believe it, or somebody, if you believe it's going to protect you, it's going to protect you. And so I put it on, I thank the Lord and Oya, and put that thing on, and then I go about my day. And I had left it at my sister's here a while back. And that girl called me on FaceTime, had my necklace on, thinking she's cute. And I'm like, take that off right now. Like, we're silly. Tasha knows I'm the silliest person on the planet. And me and my sister together are we need our own podcast. Okay. But when she was wearing my necklace, I took that so seriously, because you're supposed to protect that kind of stuff. It's not a toy. So I finally got it back this weekend.
Good.
That's good.
You were talking about your religious belief there. Honestly, I think what I do anyway is I listen to what other religious beliefs have to offer. And yes, I do consider myself a Catholic, but at the same time, like I don't mind talking to other people about their faith and understanding what their faith is.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that mine's right or theirs is right. I think that's how we should all be, honestly.
I agree, because it's all born out of the same things. There's a universal creator. We need to treat each other right. We need to do the right things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way each religion addresses that may be a little bit different, but the basics of it all is the same. And I'm the same way. I like to learn about different religions. I mean, I got a long way to go.
Yeah. I feel like you can never stop learning about that kind of stuff.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I agree.
You can see so many connections.
Yeah. I've got a brother-in-law who is Muslim.
Yeah.
And we've talked in the past about how Jesus exists in that faith. So, it's one of those things where we look for crossover, where we can find common ground and then be like, yeah, this makes sense,
Yes. It's so funny that you say that, because I was just thinking, I wanted to say, y'all know Jesus is in the Quran, but then I was second guessing myself. I didn't know enough to support myself. Then you said it, Dustin.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, as humans, we look for ways to explain, natural phenomena. We look for ways to protect ourselves. We look for ways to make society function, together. And religion does all those things. I consider myself more spiritual than religious, but yeah.
And in the long run, we're a short time compared to how long the universe has existed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're lucky, we'll get 100 years. So what's the point in fighting about something that small, when you're only going to be here for 100 years anyway?
You're right.
I think we're probably done with dreams for now. Do we have book recommendations?
Because one of our theories is that if you're an avid reader, you might have more vivid dreams.
My favorite book in the world is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever see the movie that they made?
Yeah. Did you ever read the book?
Cool. No, I did not.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It usually never is.
Yep. Books always better.
It's about I remember that. There was a book called A Time to Kill, I think it was called. And the dude
Mhm.
was sitting on the stand, the witness stand, and a bead of sweat was dropping down his nose. And when I watched that movie, I could not believe they didn't show the bead of sweat dropping down that man's nose. But anyway, so Their Eyes Watching God is about a woman's journey through life, basically through three marriages. So I'll just leave it at that. But it is very awesome. Zora Neale Hurston does write capture dialect from several different types of regions of the United States, the South. And so some students, and I'm sure adults, are going to read it and go, oh my God, she can't understand what she's writing. But just read a little bit of it out loud. The whole book is not like that, only when people are speaking. Her literature, her prose is very poetic. Ships at a distance have every man's wish on board. For some, they come in with the tide. For others, they sail forever on the horizon. That is my book I recommend. Okay. So when the movie came out, I was like, oh my God, the kids are going to watch the movie. So I watched the movie, and there was a scene in there where these two, Halle Berry was the lady in the movie, and I can't remember who the man was. And after they got married, they had their honeymoon, and the sex scene was out of control. She was
Oh no.
gripping onto the chandelier. I mean, it was on regular TV, so it wasn't too bad, but she was gripping
Yeah.
onto the chandelier and everything. I said, these parents are going to kill me. So I went to the book and I tried to find this passage where this happened because I did not remember it. This was the line from the book. There was such kissing and hugging like you never saw. That was the line from the book. And I was
Oh
like,
man.
really? So yeah. And the movie left out like Halle Berry's Jeannie is her name. Her grandma was born into slavery and all that. And it left all the beginning part out. But anyway, but it was still good.
Okay. That came while I was working at Blockbuster, actually.
I love that. Gosh, I don't think I've met anybody that worked at Blockbuster in a long time. So that's awesome.
It was a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna be super basic.
Okay.
Pet Cemetery by Stephen King. We talked about
Oh,
horror today, the nightmares and stuff that we would have, and also religion, which really weirdly enough plays into Pet Cemetery.
okay.
If you're into horror and really detailed descriptions on everything, then Stephen King is your guy, and Pet Cemetery is the way to go.
Okay.
Have you ever read it?
No.
So there's this bit where the main character's daughter has gone to Sunday school, and they learned about Lazarus, and
Yes.
and she says, yeah, the teacher said the reason that Jesus had to call Lazarus by name is she reckons that if he had just said, come forth, everybody would have jumped up out of that graveyard.
Mm.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. And,
Yeah.
for someone like Stephen King to have written stuff about that surprised me, honestly.
So I read this a while back when I was binging books about couples who were going through it. And there's
Yeah.
been a movie made about this too, called Gone Girl.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I've heard of
Another
it,
one's
but
had
I've
a movie
never
made
read
of
it.
it.
The book, the movie does this a little bit too, but the book does it better, as usual. They play on the fact that there are two sides to every story. So in
Hmm.
the book, you're reading the wife's story, and you're reading like the perspective of the husband's side of the story. You get to look at both perspectives. It flip flops between the two
Hmm.
at different periods of time. But yeah, this man's wife goes missing, and everybody's pointing the finger at him. Everybody's on the search for her, including the police. So it's a thriller, and it kept me on the edge of my seat. It's called Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn.
Hmm.
Way better than the movie. The book is.
The movie tripped me out.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen the movie, Jeannie?
I have not. I told you I fall asleep on movies.
Oh, that's right.
It's got Ben Affleck in it.
Been a flack. A flack.
Yeah.
Get out of here with your crazy pronunciations.
Oh,
Did you hear what he
that's funny.
called HEB and what else was it?
Oh,
Bucky's.
the Heb
Heb.
and Bussies.
Yeah.
Bussies? What do you call it?
Yeah, Bussies.
Bussies. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No.
No, she said no, don't encourage him.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it.
I told him he's going to offend a lot of Texans.
Right? That's funny.
I'm gonna start talking shit about Dr. Pepper too. That's gonna just
Oh,
every Texan.
yeah, you'll set us over the edge with that one.
Riots and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I'll be sure to give them your address to riot at.
Uh-huh. No, thanks.
I think we're good. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Sirius, Pandora, and the other one. Anchor.
Anchor.
Yes, Anchor. And we have an email address if you'd like to email us your dreams and we will read them out. It's whatmdreams@gmail.com. And we have a Patreon. We have a Patreon, What M Dreams, again. Right now we only have one tier, but we are going to up that to 3 tiers.
All right.
And we're still discussing what we're going to do with rewards at those tiers.
Okay.
Currently, it's a $5 tier, and it's just support. That's all it is so far.
Yay!
It's exciting.
Exciting things.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you have for us, Tasha?
Nope. Jeannie?
Well, I just thank you guys. This was super fun. I hope y'all let me come back in the fall so I can be more prepared.
Of course.
I
Thank
mean,
you again for joining
I just
us.
want to I want to record some dreams.
Yeah.
And
You
just
should.
thinking about how you went to the symbolism. You asked some great questions, Tasha. So I want to think about that kind of stuff.
Thanks.
But you guys did a great job. You're awesome. I loved it.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
love having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, listeners, for listening.
And great to meet you, Dustin. I hope I get to meet you in real life one day.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
But I'm not playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Why, are you
I
not
get
a fucking nerd?
I'm not a fucking nerd. I actually am a nerd.
I was gonna say, you're an English teacher. You have to be a little bit.
You know it. All right. Well, I could stay on forever with you guys, so I'll let y'all go. I'm about to actually go to work. I have to work Saturday school this morning.
Girl,
Oh,
I didn't know that.
whoa.
That's what I
Okay.
do. All right. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Love you. See you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.